We will now be moving on to a more advanced concept, which is drawing the human face. In this part, we draw a simple human face using lines and a shading technique. So first, draw a circle. Then, draw a vertical line to divide the circle and extend it below. This extension is needed to draw the chin. In the second step, we will continue with the outline. Connect the bottom part of the circle and the bottom part of the vertical line we drew earlier on both sides. Then, draw a horizontal line near the bottom of the circle. Moving on, in the third step, draw another vertical line slightly above the one we drew earlier. Then, mark guidelines or points where you want the features such as the hair and the nose to be. After that, in the fourth step, we will divide the eye line into 5 parts. The second and fourth parts will act as guidelines for the eyes. In the fifth step, divide the bottom third of the face into 3 parts, for the mouth and the top of the chin. The middle third decides the position of the ears. Then, erase the baselines and add detail to the eyes, nose, ears, and the mouth. In the last step, just add the hair and you're done with drawing the human face. To end my part, I've written some tips to help you improve your drawing skills. Keep practicing to make your drawings more realistic. Try searching up actors and draw their portraits. And finally, practice makes you perfect. Well, that's it for my part. If you have any questions related to shading or the basic shapes, you can type your queries in the chat and we will answer them in the end. I will now hand it over to Yasir to continue with the session.
Good afternoon everyone, my name is Yasir. Now Yusuf has taken us through shading techniques and how to draw the human face. Well, while I was observing how to draw the human face, I was satisfied with the way they drew the nose and the mouth, but not so as much with the eyes. So I was thinking, well, what about the eyes? So in the coming few slides, we're going to be covering on how to draw the perfect human eyes. So step 1 is to outline the shape of an eye and highlight it. Now this eye outline should not be too dark because you want to prevent it from showing through in the end. You just need the basic shapes outlined at this point. Now if you observe the pupil of the eye given on the right, you will observe that there is a square-like shape near the pupil. Well, that's the glare from a window or a similar shaped light source. You can use other shapes such as circles or oval as well. Now we need to shade the pupil. So using a darker pencil, fill in the pupil. Avoid pressing too hard or else it will be hard for you to make corrections later on. You can go on over the area once again to achieve a darker shade and make sure that your highlights always stay clean. Now we need to shade the iris. So on a separate sheet of paper, smear some graphite into a small area and use a blending stump to rub the area until the graphite has transferred to the tip of the blender. Now you will use that to fill out the outer area of the pupil, and this step does not have to be done perfectly. On the contrary, imperfection is basically the key to success at this point, because the sloppy smudging will make it turn out even better as well as give the eye more depth. Now with the 4B pencil, draw spokes coming outward from the pupil. Overlap some of the spokes to create thicker lines. This will make the eye look more interesting, and leave some areas untouched as they will be filled in later. Now in order to blend the iris, use the blending stump to fill in the white space in the iris. Carefully work around the highlight and don't press too hard. You should still be able to see the lines coming out of the pupil when you're done with it. If most of the lines have disappeared, it is because you have either used the blender with too much force or you have not pressed hard enough while you were creating the spoke initially. Hence, you may have to repeat the previous step once again. Now, using a darker pencil, create a shadow under the eyelid to give the eye more depth and roundness, as you can see on the eye given on the left. Now, no eye is perfect without its surrounding, aka the skin. So shade the eye whites as well as the skin around the eyes. And don't leave the eyeball white, or else it will make it look a bit more unrealistic and will lack depth. So darken the creases using a 4B pencil and use kneaded erasers to make the highlights pop out. As well as in areas where it needs to be lightened, dab a bit so that it becomes a bit more lightened. For example, the eye whites, the brow bone, the inner corner of the eye near the tear duct. In step 8, we will draw the eyebrows and the eyelashes. Now, in order to draw eyelashes, we should not use straight lines. We should use curved lines. So to create the eyebrows, use a very thin HB pencil. Whereas for the eyelashes, go with something that is a bit more darker. And go with the drawing and darken the area such as the pupil, the creases and shadows, and clean the highlights to make your drawing look very beautiful. Now, it is always better when you give in your own few touch-ups just to create that realistic feeling. Now, if you can observe the image given on the right, you will notice that we have darkened the eyebrows, lightened the tear duct, and also lightened a bit of the eye whites, while also darkening the eyelashes. This in turn has made the given eye look way more realistic. Now, you don't want to end up with just one eye unless you're trying to draw a cyclops. You will want to end up with a pair of eyes. So hence, you need to repeat the steps laterally inverted so that you will end up with the most beautiful hand-drawn eyes.
We begin with primary color. Now, primary colors are otherwise known as traditional color theory. They include red, yellow, and blue, and they are the source of all the other colors. They can be mixed with one another. Now, when we go to secondary colors, you can see that when you mix 2 or 3 primary colors, you create a secondary color. These secondary colors are orange, green, and violet. Now, as you can see in the second figure at the bottom right corner, there is when you join red and yellow, you get orange, yellow and blue to get green, and blue and red to get violet. Now, the final of all the 3 colors is tertiary. When a primary color is mixed with its closest secondary color, you form a tertiary color. So, here are some of the list of the colors which are tertiary. There's yellow-green, yellow-orange, blue-green, blue-purple, red-orange, and red-purple. So, let's begin with watercolors. Watercolors is a painting medium in which the pigment of the paint is suspended by a water-based solution. It's an extremely old method which dates back to the ancient cave paintings in Europe. Since water is an active element in this painting process, it becomes important for the artist to learn and to anticipate the behavior of water. Now, next in our list of mediums is oil painting. It is otherwise known as pure colors. It has buttery consistency and it has a distinct smell. Since it has more pigment in it, oil paintings are more richer and vivid. Now, let's go to the final medium, which is acrylic painting. It was first used in the 1940s. It is a unique paint which combines the properties of both water as well as oil colors. Acrylics are very useful for mixed media works. Things such as pastel, oil, chalk, charcoal, pen, etc. can be used on top of dry acrylic paint surface.
Picture composition. Every photographer should know how to place the subject in such a way that the foreground and the background are properly placed to give each the desired significance. Knowing your grids, or the rule of thirds. Good photographers know how to give importance to the model of subject compared to the background and foreground. We wanted to give equal importance to both a model and the background due to its vibrant summer tones. So the decision of keeping the subject in the middle by providing little to no headroom gives the required significance to each, and making sure the background is also captured with the vibrant yellows, greens, and blues. These are the important factors which all make sure that the photo and the composition looks good. You can't keep your subject at the third grade, which I show here, the third grade, so that your background is more emphasized and your model is less emphasized.
Step 2 is understanding tone. So tone comes under your basic section, and under that is what you have: your exposure, your contrast, your highlights and shadows, the whites and blacks, saturation and vibrance. Exposure is basically your brightness control of the image. It controls how bright or dim your actual image is. Contrast is the difference between your lighter parts of the image and the darker parts of the image. Let's take an example. If the image has high contrast, it means all the lighter parts of the picture from the original photo that you actually took become really light, and the darker parts become even more darker. That's what high contrast means. Highlights are it's basically a control for the lighter parts of the image, and the shadows is the right opposite of it. It controls your darker parts of the image. And your highlights and then your shadows, they both correlate with your whites and your blacks. So your whites sets the lightest point of your highlights, and your blacks, it sets your darkest point of your shadows. Now, then you have your saturation and vibrance. They both almost do the exact thing. By bringing up all the colors of the image, it increases the amount of individual colors, but vibrance, it protects your skin tone. It doesn't make it look yellowish, or it doesn't make it look artificial, and that's a really good slider if you want to have to edit portrait pictures.
Talk about another really important part of photography, lighting. Pretty sure you've heard a lot of photo nerds talk about lighting this, lighting that, how important lighting is, how they'll die for lighting and things like that. Lighting is an important aspect in photography. Lighting can make your image look good, bad, make your subject look, make your subject seeable, or make your subject honestly invisible to your eyes. It can make your image look good, bad. It can give off a very scary vibe to your image. It can give off a happy vibe to your image. It can give off a very ethereal vibe to your image. It all depends on how you master lighting and how you use lighting to yourself. So before we talk about lighting, there are two main aspects in an image that define lighting. It's shadows. Of course, shadows are the darker parts in the image, and highlights. Highlights are the brightest parts in the image. Stuff like the sky, reflections of the sky, bright lights, sources of light, anything that is really bright is a highlight, and things that are dark is shadow. Everything in between is usually called midtones. Again, midtones is a very deep topic. I mean, it's a very deep concept. Usually we can just call them midtones, but there's also darker midtones, lighter midtones, semi-shadows and things like that. But for now, shadows and highlights are the two main aspects that you have to look out for in lighting. First up, let's talk about an image shot harsh lighting. Harsh lighting is when there's a huge amount of light, huge amount of light, a huge powerful source of light hitting your subject. when it hits your subject, it forms this really hard and like a deep. It forms a really hard and deep shadows. As you can see, the shadows are really hard, really well defined. They're like perfect lines. These are shadows created when a harsh source of light hits your image. Harsh sources of light are usually, your fluorescent lights, tube lights, sunlight, anything that provides a harsh shadow is a harsh light. Usually, harsh lights are used to give off, again, a very well-defined, geometric, structured look to your image. If you're working in a studio environment, you usually don't see harsh lighting, because harsh lighting is, again, is a very structured, it's a very urban look, um, it's a very street look to an image. It gives off a very street look to an image. It does not give off a very professional look, unless you're doing something really professional with the composition or with the subject placement and things like that. That's what harsh lighting is all about. Next up is soft lighting, of course. Soft lighting is when your images. Soft lighting is shot in a studio manner. This was shot in my home because I don't have a studio. But this is when your light hits the image. It does not form any hard shadows. It creates a beautiful highlight line on your image, on your subject, as you can see here on the bright spots of my image. There's also a slight subtle soft shine. This is what good soft lighting does. Usually, again, soft lighting is usually achieved when you use diffusers. Diffusers are like panels that help put out light in a soft manner. What they do is take harsh sources of light, like tube lights and everything, and they kind of diffuse them and they spread them over a large area so that all of your image gets good lighting. This image was not shot in a studio, but in a studio manner. That's why you can see some hard shadows underneath. So there are some form of harsh lighting in this image. As you can see, it's not properly soft, but when you go and see your CBSC photos or your passport size photos, you can see there's not a speck of shadow in that image. It's all like perfectly well lit. Your hair, your side profile of the image, sides or both sides, down, up, all of the sides is properly lit and perfectly set. That's what soft sources of light usually do. They usually provide light over a large area and help light the image evenly. That's what soft sources of light do. Harsh sources of light usually create hard shadows, and they're really bright sources. They're like bright pinpoint sources of light, while bright soft sources of light are just over a large area and help light your entire subject. Again, is another example of using both harsh and soft lighting. As you can see, this light hitting the wall. There was a huge tube light above us that hit the wall, that hit one side of the wall of the image, and that light bounced off of that wall and hit my subject's back, and this is what gives that slight glow on the side of my subject. And the harsh light from the TVs also light the shoes of my subject. This is what is how you can use harsh and soft lighting to your advantages, when you can have harsh lights to give the suddenness and like an urge to the image, while you can use soft lights to secretly light your subject and secretly give your subject that extra glow. Again, lighting is a vast subject. It's pretty complicated again, but usually if you know about harsh soft lighting, how to use hard shadows, how to use soft shadows, how to really play around with your style and inculcate lighting into it, is again up to you. It's a very practical concept, and learning it will really help you guys really like widen your arsenal and help you take better pictures.
Now with the help of making stop motion, you can do anything if you have the right tools for keeping the object appear airborne, or to make a waterfall look still for capturing a pic of it. To make an immobile object mobile, you would have to take multiple shots with a change in its placement to make it look like it has moved a particular direction. They can be literally anything from a water bottle to even the Antonov AN 225, the largest plane, if you have the strength to make it move for a shot. So basically, sorry, 1 minute. Sorry again for disturbance.
It's okay. Continue.
So basically, for stop motion, you can either create your object for the shots or take an object from your daily life for it. But in this video, I made a stop motion for creating an object for a school assignment. Sometimes you gotta think outside the box and different from everyone else. The video itself is about 10 seconds long, but I've taken exactly 100 photos and combined it to a video. Well, this is my first time making one, so I guess it's beginner's luck. You can click on the video. As you can see, I made a paper airplane as a stop motion, and since I don't have the proper materials to make it fly, I just made it slide on the table. Part which everyone needs to listen to very carefully: how to make a simple hand drawn flipbook animation. Now I know many have done this before, so maybe y'all can learn to add some points to improve your work. And for the rest, well, y'all can learn to make your first flipbook animation. Now I have here 5 easy steps to make one. Get a thick stack of paper. Now you can use any type of paper, but since we need to make this fast and easy, it is better to use this set of paper. Notepad paper or index paper. Start at the bottom right. Since we're making a basic one, we will just be covering up the bottom right side of the page. That is, if you are not left-handed. If you are one, then you can use the left side, just to make it easier for you. And you have to use the last page to draw the first image and go on from there. Draw the next image. Now the tip here is that you have a source of light. You need to bring a source of light below the paper to know the position of the previous image for the image you are going to draw. You don't want your stick figure to look like getting seizures. Continue the process. The images should have a small change in movement according to the number of pages you are using. Polish and enhance. It just means that you have to make sure the image's consecutive change is smooth and not stiff. Now we'll be going through stop motion animation. So has anyone tried stop motion before? Anyone? Okay, then. So basically, it's a filmmaking technique that makes inanimate objects appear to move on their own. Sorry about that. Sorry about the disturbance, guys. Okay, so now with the help of making stop motion, you can do anything if you have the right tools for keeping the object appear airborne or to make a waterfall look still for capturing a pic of it. To make an immobile object mobile, you would have to take multiple shots with a change in its placement to make it look like it has moved a particular direction. They can be literally anything from a water bottle to even the Antonov AN 225, the largest plane, if you have the strength to make it move for a shot. So basically, sorry, 1 minute. Sorry again for disturbance.
It's okay. Continue.
So basically, for stop motion, you can either create your object for the shots or take an object from your daily life for it. But in this video I have here, I made a stop motion for creating an object for a school assignment. Sometimes you gotta think outside the box and different from everyone else. The video itself is about 10 seconds long, but I've taken exactly 100 photos and combined it to a video. Many have watched Shaun the Sheep, but did you know that the show is considered a stop motion clay animation, where they created the characters out of clay and moved them every frame to make it look like they're living beings. The show consists of 179 episodes and one movie. Imagine the time they must have taken to create the intro itself. Now we will know how to make our stop motion animation, and who knows, maybe one of you can help create another movie for the Shaun the Sheep franchise. To create a stop motion, you need a small immobile object such as a pen or a Lego. Place the object at one position and plan out its actions before starting. As per the amount of picture you're going to take, keep the object further from a point. Once you are satisfied with the pictures you have taken, merge the pictures together in a significant order with the app of your choice. Now, before you start, you just remember that you have to keep it short and simple, unless you are fast, of course. So, for merging the photos, you can use the app CapCut if you already don't have one of your choice.